Our guest today on Let's Talk is Garry Holstein, and he is the director of the Bradbury Art Museum at Arkansas State University. Welcome to Let's Talk, Garry.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Well, now, we were discussing before the show that you actually moved into this position almost the moment that COVID reached Arkansas. So tell us about your experience and what you've done at the museum since that time.
Sure. So, it's one of those twofold situations there. On one side, it's not what you expect to move into. On another, it gives you time to really assess the condition of the space, look at the collection, and build out programming that you wouldn't have the opportunity to do any other time. So we canceled shows. We had to close for a while because we're part of A-State and the entire campus was closed down. And we had to come up with different types of programming. So one of the first things that we did when we opened back up was we created a show called Radius, which looked at 180 miles in any direction. And it brought in artists who were working within that span so that we could get a sense of who the artists were that were within the region that we served. We created that mile marker because it was easy for the artists to drive to us. And so it allowed for them to make a little day trip to see the space and didn't add too much to what they had to do in order to be a part of the exhibition.
Wow.
So, and there's some amazing art. We had people that, Glenn Ray Tudor is one that is just over in Mississippi, in Oxford, and he's shown all over the world and decided to live in Mississippi. And we had local artists as well. It was a fantastic thing, and it's something that we couldn't have done if we hadn't have had to face the COVID situation. So, good things come out of bad situations.
Well, and it is, and the whole concept of the Bradbury Art Museum, there are actually people in Jonesboro that don't know it's at Arkansas State, but tell us a little bit more about its history.
Sure. So the Bradbury Art Museum started off as the Bradbury Art Gallery when Kurt Bradbury gave a gift to A-State in honor of Chucky Bradbury, his wife. And that gift enabled the space to start off, and that was in 2001. And then many years later, through the efforts of Les Christensen, who was in my role before I was here, created this amazing program she's built up over time. And they said, okay, how can we expand what we're doing for the community? And they got a grant from the Wingate Foundation. And it enabled them to transform the space into the Bradbury Art Museum. And what that did was it said, okay, so we're going to focus on our engagement activities. We're going to focus on our education that we're doing for the community. And so it allowed them to step outside of the space and to serve the community more rather than, and it's important. Artwork is important. Don't misunderstand this. But it allowed them to have more impact directly on the community that they're serving. So
that's fabulous.
Yeah, and then we continue to expand that today. So we've recently received another gift. We've expanded our education team, and I'll speak a little bit more about that later.
Okay. The concept is that Arkansas State is back in school, and you are actively open and available?
Absolutely. So we're open from Tuesday through Saturday from 12 to 5 during exhibitions. Okay. And we've actually been open since last fall. Okay. The museum is a perfect place to go to because you're not supposed to touch things and you're supposed to enjoy the space in small groups of people that are close to you. It's not a big event that you're going to, but it's kind of an intimate thing that you go and observe, and you don't speak necessarily a whole lot to anyone outside of inside of your group. So we're built for this. And so we've been able to continue that programming this entire time. And then we've currently just recently opened a pretty phenomenal exhibition called Legends.
Tell us about the Legends.
Sure. So Legends, it started off because we do this yearly program called Inspired. Inspired is our outreach program in which we invite area high school students from 6 different counties or 7 different counties, I apologize, in our region. And they come in, they look at an exhibition, and they choose a piece, and then they create their own interpretation. So it's not like a master study where it's like, I'm going to copy this, but rather they choose a formal element, they choose a conceptual idea, and they create some piece and they write an artist statement and they enter that piece into a call for entries, and an outside juror selects pieces that are going to be in the next show. That happened last year with Radius, which I spoke to you about a moment ago. And so we found that so many of the students who came in chose this piece that was a graphic novel. So we're like, okay, we're going to use that information that we've gathered and we're going to create a show that's going to be the inspiration for the next Inspired. And it's going to focus on graphic novels and comics because they obviously showed interest. And so what we did was we reached out to Dr. Randy Duncan, who is at Henderson State University. He runs the Center for Comic Studies, and he actually wrote a book on the study of comics.
Really?
Yes, and we reached out to him, and he provided us with a foundation of artists to pull from that that set the stage for what the exhibition became. So we have the guy that currently draws Spy vs. Spy, which is Mad Magazine.
Right.
People recognize that. We have the woman, Trina, who is the first woman who ever drew Wonder Woman. And we have some examples of Iron Man and Green Lantern and that sort of thing. But we wanted to make sure that what we were doing was not just speaking to that side of it. So it's not just about superheroes, but it's about all the aspects of what comics are today. And so what we did is our component of this is we said, how can we as a contemporary art space add to this dialogue? So we looked at what was there and we said, we want to bring in some examples of people who are working in different ways today. So we brought in an artist that focuses on digital illustration. We also brought in an artist that only does webcomics. I don't know if you're familiar with Sarah Scribbles, but yeah, she does these amazing little slices of life, is what I would call them. That she has, people on social media love it. She actually has recently produced a graphic novel called Fangs, which we have selections from as well. But that's going to be the part that people connect with. They've seen it in their daily life. They're excited by it. And then we also brought in some regional artists. And then we said, okay, but we wanted to be sure that we were serving all of the students who come. And so we thought, how can we push this a little bit further? And so we brought in some artists like Kevin Snipes, who's a ceramic artist.
Okay.
And he used to make comics as a kid, and now he uses that drawing set and that skill that he developed to create the imagery on the outside of his ceramic pieces. And so we've moved it into the 3D realm, ceramic usable objects, and he's internationally recognized superstar ceramicist.
Wow.
We brought in another artist called Mythic Times, and they create these suits that they do performances in, but they also create installations. And so we have this installation of these creatures that are based off of like dreams that she had. And so what we were doing was we were saying, okay, we're doing comics. It's about the visual and it's about this narrative. And so we're going to turn this and we're going to make it about storytelling, because storytelling is something that we all do. Sure. You do it all the time. And so we also brought in one more artist that focuses on video art and painting collage, Ju Young. She creates this wonderful video piece that's in the back space where she draws from like childhood shows. She draws from these puppets that she makes, and then she also uses herself as a storytelling instrument when she creates multiple identities of herself that tell stories and sing songs, and it's pretty phenomenal.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you've opened something that's not just art, but fun.
Right, and so that was part of our goal with this whole exhibition, was that we wanted people that might not necessarily see themselves as museum goers to feel welcome to come in and to find out that it's not necessarily going to be something that is distant from them, but it's something that we've probably seen Mad Magazine in your life.
I did.
Yeah. Exactly. And we all know superheroes, and so it's something you can connect with. And we also wanted to do another thing, and that was to slow people down, because one of the things that you run into as a museum professional is that people go in, they stop, or they look at something, they move on, they look at something, they move on. And what this does is there's multiple instances of storytelling where you read, and so you linger for longer. There's a video that you have to sit and watch the full duration of. And so we wanted to make sure that we were keeping people there, and providing a space for them to talk to each other as well in their groups that they bring in. So
Very nice. That is nice. So in addition to this, you have a lot of educational outreach.
Right.
And what does that involve?
Well, of course, we have the Inspired show that I spoke to, and that's our education department. But we also do a series of different programs with area organizations. We partner with them. We provide materials as well as instruction for after-school programming. We are doing, we also, within the education and the outreach, we're doing different programs. We recently went to the Northeast Arkansas Humane Society, and we did a paw print project to help with adoption. So within that group, we have two different focuses, and that are kind of the same. Education, making people aware of art and the way that it can function to help society, but also to make sure that we're reaching out to schools. And one of the coolest initiatives that we have going right now is we've been issued a challenge grant by the Wingate Foundation to create a BAM van. And that is a van which will allow us to take artwork and programming outside of the museum to area schools, because area schools struggle to provide the resources for arts programming, or sometimes to come to us as an institution. But with that resource, we can go to them. We can take part in the downtown initiatives, the different festivals, and we can be present inside of the community more.
Unbelievable. That's very cool. And is there a schedule for that, or do you just kind of find schools or places to go?
That we're still in the process of securing the matching grant. So we've been issued a challenge grant, and we do have support from the Arvis Foundation, and we're super excited about moving forward with additional opportunities too. So
that's also
Yeah.
that's very cool. Now tell me what you got on the horizon.
So, as I said, the Inspired exhibition is going to be the next thing that happens. That'll be in January, and you can come in. You'll be able to see exhibitions or work from area students, high school students. And then following that is probably our signature exhibition, Delta National Small Prints. And that's, in a way, the Evan Lindquist, who was the first artist laureate for the state of Arkansas, amazing printmaker. And he started this as a way to inject culture into the region 26 years ago now. And so what it is each year we have artists from all over the world send prints in, and outside juror selects the pieces that they will build an amazing show. And community members help us to build our collection of prints by helping us to purchase pieces. And so people get to see all these amazing printmaking techniques from all over, from artists from all different backgrounds, but we also get to share the gift of art for many generations to come through the generosity of our community members. So, and then following that, we have another example of community giving. Former ambassador James Pardue, who recently passed, James and Kathy Pardue, gifted their art collection to the university.
Oh, really?
And we will showcase, we won't even be able to fit all of it, it's such an amazing collection, but we'll be able to showcase a wonderful selection of work from from the time that they lived in Bulgaria, as well as some American artists. And so the great thing about that is that I was able to work with him before he passed. And so he's told me all of these amazing stories about him actually working hand in hand with the artists to help them to survive as an artist, but also to talk to them and know who they are, and to create artworks that are in their style, but that maybe are about ideas that he was interested in. And so he had a real relationship, and so we'll be able to touch on that story as well. And the really cool thing about that is that we're gonna be able to allow some students to help us work firsthand with that collection in developing that exhibition. So.
Well, tell us about about a little bit about your background, your job. What drew you to art, and are you an artist yourself? Or?
I am. So I actually started out as an artist. I come from a studio art background, and I went to the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville, and I worked under Donald Roller Wilson. He is an artist that's really well known. He's collected by like Steve Martin, and was collected by Carrie Fisher and several different Hollywood people. But he, I had the opportunity to actually do the sort of mentor relationship with him while I was going through the program there. One of the things that happened during that time was that I found that there wasn't a lot of places. This is back before Crystal Bridges existed, because I was active many years ago in Northwest Arkansas, and so I started doing pop-up shows, and I would volunteer. We would find spaces, and because I was working with galleries, I was like, this needs to be happening here. There needs to be opportunities here for the people that I'm in the community with. So I've always been super about community engagement. And then we started a student-run gallery, Ketty Corner, to the original Crystal Bridges when it was downtown before they had their actual campus. So it used to be in the downtown Bentonville area. And so that was how I got started, was sort of by doing. Mm-hmm. And then after graduating with my studio art degree, I taught for a while, and then I moved to New Harmony, and I took over as an art space in this little town that was all about creating art, engaged community, sculptural installations, and it was located in the downtown area. It was an amazing space.
And this, you were telling me about New Harmony, Indiana, and are there any, it sounds like a very unique little town that are there any ideas from it that you bring into your job here?
Sure. So with New Harmony, Indiana, it was all about sort of creating the best place that you can create. It's utopia is the idea that they've latched onto, and so that idea of working together with community members in order to make the place where you are into the place where you want it to be is something that is behind everything that I do as a programmer. I want to bring people in that might not necessarily come into a museum. I want them to feel welcome too, and I want to know what it is that they like and what it is they want to see. And I want to reach out into the community and to see if there's different ways that we can use our skill set and our resources to help different groups and what it is that they're undertaking. Another initiative with our education program is they're working on partnering with a local group on creating a mural as part of what's happening here in downtown Jonesboro. And we're looking for other opportunities to do that as well in Jonesboro, but throughout the region. So.
We are seeing some more murals and things coming downtown, and I don't know if you guys are connected with that or.
That is not our initiative, but we are participating in one of them through a partnership.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. And I know A-State has provided some artists that have done work on murals and tips and things like that downtown.
And there's a good chance that we'll become more involved with some of those things. That is not necessarily, we don't have a muralist on board, but I'm interested in the idea of bringing an artist in that's what they do, and to bring in, say, a new perspective, to supplement the amazing work that's already happening with our local artists. So.
And Gary, when you talk about bringing in, explain how it works. How are you funded, and that sort of thing.
So one thing that I think would be a really good partnership for the region would be to partner with the Oz Arts initiative, which is putting murals all across the state, because they actually worked with Just Kids, which is a international program that does festivals in Fort Smith, but they've recently expanded. They've done murals in Fayetteville, Bentonville, and all throughout Arkansas, except for this corner. So that would be an obvious way to start off with that kind of project. And you know, they're going to be funded by Walmart. But it can be some of the things that happens within Fort Smith, for example, is that the businesses come together to help to support the various artists that they bring in to transform the community. And I don't know if you've been there, but you should take a opportunity to drive down to Fort Smith and see the amazing way that they've transformed old buildings through these various art pieces that are in the space that you walk through. And it creates, the thing that it does is it not only transforms the experience, but it also creates a reason for people to walk through the community. And so all of the local businesses are getting additional people coming into their space. And so it's a really clever approach to tourism.
Yes, it is, and I've seen some of that stuff in Fort Smith. You walk between buildings, maybe something was once a burned out building, it's now a little art space. It's like a 3D art space of some sort. And I'm using words that I don't know if they're professional, but that's what
It doesn't have to be a professional words. If you're talking about art, that's what we're excited about.
That's the whole goal, isn't it?
It is.
Well, tell us, repeat the hours for us so people can come by.
So we've simplified. It used to be complicated.
Yeah.
Now it's easy. It's Tuesday through Saturday, 12 to 5. And if that doesn't work for you, you can reach out to us and say, hey, I really want to see this exhibition, but I work during all these times. And we'll set up an appointment for an individual tour. We do tours with a lot of school groups, but we're happy to set up tours with businesses or if you're homeschooling, we'll work with you for that too. So.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And is there a number or a website to go to?
Yeah, it's easy. Just type in Bradbury Art Museum. It'll take you to our website, and so that's the easiest way to find us. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. We're pretty active there too. So.
Very nice. He's the director of Bradbury Art Museum. His name's Garry Holstein. Garry, thank you for joining us on Let's Talk Jonesboro.
Thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful.